Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about westward expansion. So we've already talked a little bit about expansion, how when new states were created, they didn't know whether there should be slave or non-slave states, but a lot of people really did not live in these states yet. As you can see on this map from 1860, right before the Civil War started, there was almost nobody living on the West Coast. Wherever it's green, that means less than two people live there for every mile. So a lot of California, Washington, Montana, half of Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma, all of this area, and even Florida down here, nobody lived here. And even where it's gray, that means barely anybody lived there. California had a little bit right here. Some people lived there. They found gold there, so a lot of people moved there. But almost the entire population of the United States all lived on the East Coast in this area. But that's going to change by the time after the Civil War is done. There's several reasons for it. One big reason is the Transcontinental Railroad. In 1869, a railroad was built connecting California to New York. So now the East and the West Coasts were connected. This is a little map, but it shows it was from California, and it went all the way across to New York. And this helped people increase the westward movement of settlers into the states between the Mississippi River and Pacific Ocean. So here's California, here's New York, and this is the Mississippi River. This is California, Pacific Ocean. A lot of people started moving here because it was easy. You can take a train. Before the train, if you wanted to move here, you had to take horses, you had to go on cows. It was very, very difficult and took a very long time, and it was very dangerous to move over here. And especially getting to California, because there was lots of mountains. Here's the Rocky Mountains, the Sierra Mountains, there's mountains over here, and it's a desert, so it's very dangerous. But now you can get on a railroad and go all the way to California. And many Americans had to rebuild their lives after the Civil War. Like, for instance, remember in the South, they had all their farms were destroyed, businesses destroyed. The two cities that were burned down were Atlanta and Richmond. And so the government responded to the incentive of free public land and move west to take advantage of the Homestead Act of 1862, which gave free public land in the Western Territories to settlers who would live and farm the land. So the government passed the Homestead Act of 1862, and what this act did is exactly what it says. If you moved west and you tried to farm the land, the government gave you free land. All right? And if you look at this map, there's lots of free land. So if you told the government, I'll move here, they gave you lots and lots of land. You just had to farm on it. And that's the Homestead Act of 1862. And many African Americans moved west to seek new opportunities after the Civil War and to escape racism. So remember, they weren't treated well in the South. The South was very racist, but when they went north, the North was still pretty racist as well, so a lot of them moved west so they can get the free land. A lot of Southerners also moved west, though, too, to seek economic opportunities. Remember, in the South, the Confederate money was worthless. They came back to their farms were destroyed, factories were destroyed, so it was very difficult for Southerners, and the South was the poorest part of the country, so a lot of them moved west. And there was new technologies that help people as they move west. One of them is the railroads, which we talked about. They started after the Transcontinental Railroad. They started making a lot of other railroads. The telegraph, which we've talked about before, it's not a telephone, but it's where you can push a button and it sends letters. Think of it like an early, very early type of text messaging. Telephone, which you guys know, But this made it easy for people in California because they can talk to people in New York, they can talk to people in Washington, D.C., and Virginia, and it was instantaneous. And the other one's the mechanical reaper, which this picture down on the bottom right's mechanical reaper made farming much easier. And this opened new lands in the West for settlement and made farming profitable by increasing the production and connecting resources and markets. So let's say you have a farm in California. Before a railroad, if you grew stuff in California, there was no way to get it to the East Coast. But now there's a railroad. You put the stuff you grow on the railroad, you bring it to the East Coast. And by the turn of the century, the Great Plains and Rocky Mountain regions of the American West were no longer a mostly unsettled frontier, but were fast becoming regions of farms, ranches, and towns. So the Great Plains and Rocky Mountain area, this is over here. If you go back to this map, in 1860, nobody lived in that area. But people are starting to move here now. And just like before, the forcible removal of the American Indians from their lands continued throughout the remainder of the 19th century as settlers continued to move west following the Civil War. So as people keep moving west, they keep removing Indians, and they keep putting them on different tribes or Indian reservations. And as I've talked before, 19th century, that's going to be like the year 1801, the year 1899, 1877, 1860. Anything with an 18 is going to be the 19th century. And as we're finishing, here's a map now of 1880. And as you can see, areas where like it's this yellow or a little bit kind of like a goldish orange, there's people all over the United States now. There's still a few couple open spots. But even today, places like North and South Dakota, Wyoming, a lot of people don't live there. But you're starting to see there's a lot more people in California. Texas has more people, a lot more people here. Utah, Kansas, New Mexico, Montana, Washington, Oregon. People are starting to live in all these different parts of the country now. Whereas when you looked here, nobody was living there. So that's all we're doing for Westward Expansion. Next class we will do review. Then we're having our test on Thursday for the red classes, and the test will be Friday for the blue classes. If you have any questions, let me know.